Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Now it's time to have a look at the Israeli stuff which is on offer, and basically what's on offer is all of the starter premiums that were available when the Israeli trees came out. The first one being Weizman's Spitfire LF Mk.IX. This can be a little bit of an extra boost to get into the jet area for Israel, but as I've talked about many times, the Israeli tech tree is a weak one when it comes to its aviation areas. The Mirage 3CJ is okay, the SAR, now that it has the better missiles, might be a little bit better, the A4N's a bit of fun, probably not nowadays with the current metas, the Spitfire and the P-51 are okay, but everything else is definitely what I would class as weak. I suppose if you want to get the F-16, it's probably the easiest way to do it, but still, I feel like there are much better options for tech trees out there. Weizman's does do one thing though. It does give you access to a CAS element, which is not available for the good old Israelis until you get to about 7.7. Which is, of course, the Meteor NF3 and the Origin, which has access to the 2-1000s. The Weizman's is better than all of these vehicles, so for at least 2 or 3 of your lineups, 6.0, 6.7, 7.0, 7.3, you'll be using this machine as a CAS element, which is not great, but you know, you literally don't have any other options. What it is an LF Mk.IX, which has access to 250-pounders and also rockets. The rockets are good, they work well, and so do the bombs. And afterwards you can literally become an superiority fighter, especially if you're at 6.0. Like, it works incredibly good in that area. So that's at least nice to see. The vehicle will struggle at higher BRs though. Once you take it into those, especially when you start facing jets, it's going to struggle. You're going to have to defensively fly constantly in it. But as a starter aircraft, it's not that bad. I just feel like it's probably better to just kind of suck it up and grind the tech tree, or just buy the A4E because it's in a much better place than the start of the tech tree. And with the A4E, you can actually grind out the vast majority of the tree, and it will be much easier for you. The M51W is also on offer, and this is exactly the same as the standard tech tree one, but it gets access to a 50 cal instead of a 30 cal. And this is actually a big boost. 50 cals are much more useful than the 30 cal because you can machine gun light targets, you can knock off tracks, you can even maybe do some damage to barrels, and also you can deal with aircraft. 150 cal can actually do so much damage in this game, it's kind of nuts. The vehicle itself has the same issues as the standard tech tree one. The gun is bouncy, which is very annoying, and since at low levels you usually don't have a lot of crew skills, it's kind of hard to balance the gun while you are trying to use it. I think the heat shell is fine. I've seen a lot of people complain about it. I don't know why. It seems to work completely fine with me. You can shoot any targets pretty much center mash and get through them and do damage to them. And everything else on the vehicle, like, it has smokes, which is quite nice, but it's still on a Sherman chassis, so no armor on the front. The mobility is definitely not the best. Like, it's not the fastest vehicle, it doesn't really lump about the place, and since it doesn't have that fire on the move ability, it can be really rough to play. As a vehicle to kind of get you started in the tech tree though, I mean, it can research quite a lot of the tech tree, and also it can get you into those lineups such as the 7.7 one and also the 7.3 one, which are very fun to play and pretty strong, until you get to the 9.0 one, which is also super fun with these 3 vehicles. So the vehicle, if you want like a boost to first of all get your crew skills better, which is very important with Israel because playing like rank 4 vehicles with bad crew skills is really annoying. Like, it can give you a boost in that. It can also give you a boost in your initial stages of the game. If you are fine with using the M61 to research everything, then it can be good. Like, it's not a bad vehicle. It just has some weaknesses to it. Like, I feel like a lot of people look at the basic stats of this thing, they go, oh, look at the ammo, it's really good, it's high penning. But then you got to think about, well, bushes, and then you've got fences, and then you've got the fact that sometimes heat just penetrates and then doesn't do anything. Like, it can definitely be weak. And then the actual mobility of the vehicle is not good, and everything else is not good. but at least as a premium version with decent rewards, it can give you a little bit of a boost in a part of the tech tree which isn't exactly the best. I actually think this isn't actually that bad to give a go at. The A4E is also on offer, and I think out of the two premiums for Israel, this is a better option. The vehicle is more useful in ground and also more useful in aviation to be able to grind stuff out. It has pretty good rewards on it. It also has the defers and countermeasures, so if you run into a bunch of things which have access to missiles, you can kind of flare them off, which is quite nice. And then also it gets access to guided bombs, and this is at a level where guided bombs are very useful because you mostly face like gun AAs, so you can kind of learn how to use the guided bombs as you kind of go along. It also gets a bunch of napalm, which is really good, so you know you can bomb bases and have a bit of fun with it, and also AIM-9Bs if you want to try that as well. Usually what I do is I just go full bombs and then try and make it to bases and then try and make it back home to get that extra bonus SL and RP. But the vehicle, its flight performance is not the best. One of the things I will say, if you do play this vehicle, make sure to uninstall your boosters, because if you turn and pull hard, you will rip off a wing. So do this and it will make it much easier for you to control. And yeah, just use like standard flares as well, because you won't ever face like semi-actives in this thing at any decent threat. The one problem with it though is it does now have to take off from an airfield in aerialistic, so it doesn't get the initial boost of energy, and that means that you can run into vehicles which will still hit you before you get to the bases, so therefore you have to take like an angled run at things and then kind of push from there. But the vehicle is a good grinder. You know, it's a pretty brain-dead way of playing the game, but if you are a person who wants to get to the higher echelons of Israel without too much effort, I think this one is not generally a bad pickup. It's one that many people use for that specifically. Like it's also got access to the bomb CCRP, which means that you can set up bombing bases and bombing targets a lot easier if you don't want to use the guided bombs, and you can have a good time with that as well. The Merkava Mk.2D is also on sale, and I think out of all four of them, this is probably the best pickup. They did increase its BR though, which kind of sucks, but it still is very good for the BR. The Merkava is very well armored, even though it can get penetrated pretty easily by 10-0s and also up. One of the things that is nice about it is it has this huge engine block and also these pieces of armor in it which lower spalling. So getting one shot on this thing is actually quite hard to do because of where the crew is situated, and also because of all the additional armor on top of the pretty decent angled armor that you have on the outside. The vehicle has the good old 105mm, the Sharia. This has a standard reload for a 105, and it has millions of smokes. You got the smoke grenades, you got the smoke launchers, and also I believe you have ESS as well, so you can kind of move around the place and do pretty well. Has the thermals, LWSLR, and also the M413 round, which is completely fine for the BR. The only issue with this thing is its mobility isn't the best because it's a pretty chunky machine. But it still actually can go backwards pretty efficiently. They buffed a lot of the Merkava's reverse rate recently and gave them a lot more oomph power, so you can actually move a little bit better. Has really good turret rotation, really good gun depression. It has a bunch of guns on the top of it as well, and I just wish it was still 9.0, so you could run the 3 Merkava lineup, which was super fun. But even though this thing is 9.3, you can still run a pretty competent lineup with it. The A4N you can run it with, also the Macbeth if you want to start reading suicide novels, and then also the Galbatash, which once upgraded is okay, but if it's not upgraded, it's not very good. Then you got the Mk.IX if you want to continue reading depression novels, and then also the Mk.6C, and the two actually fun vehicles, the Merkava Mk.2D and Mk.IX. So that's kind of the way to go. This vehicle is really fun. I've had a great time in it. You know, it's one of those which I've put a lot of effort into along with the other Merkavas. You can see here, plus 100, 52% win rates, but while running it with the Mk.2D, which was my main tank, you can see 195, 116. These things are just really fun to play, so definitely worth a punt. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank Forge, Siegebreak, Carrion Crow, Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, and also Sem Arslan, Wilkski, Uncle Bean, Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.